Board of Commissioners to order. Please excuse Commissioner Rocha is on the call. Stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anybody here for the Zoom? Anybody online?
People.
You want to introduce yourself?
Not asking to talk, but they should there.
If not, next approval of the minutes of the following meetings. Equalization meeting held on April 11th, 2023. Closed session meeting held on April 11th, 2023. What's your pleasure, Commissioners?
Move to approve the minutes of both meetings.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Proclamations, presentations, and awards. Proclamation designating Marquette County Community Action Month. I guess entertain a motion to that effect and a support, and we have a resolution to our representative on the board, Mr. DeZitro.
I move that we adopt the proclamation designating May as a Community Action Month.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Marine, supported by Commissioner DeZitro. You want to read it, John?
Do we have to
Yes.
vote on this, Bruce? Or did we?
No, you didn't vote yet.
I'll read it. Whereas community action has made essential contributions to individuals and families across this nation by creating economic opportunity and strengthening communities. And whereas community action is a robust state and local force connecting people to life-changing services and creating pathways to prosperity in 99% of all American counties. And whereas community action builds and promotes economic stability as the essential aspect of enabling and enhancing stronger communities and stable homes, whereas community action promotes community-wide solution to challenges throughout our cities, suburbs, and rural areas. And whereas community action delivers innovative services and supports that create greater opportunities for families and children to succeed. And whereas community action insists on community participation and involvement, ensuring that all sectors of the community have a voice and will be heard. And whereas community action is celebrating 58 years of innovation, impact, and providing proven results for Americans. Now, therefore, Jerry Corkin, Board Chair of Marquette County, do hereby proclaim May 2023 as Community Action Month in recognition of the hard work and dedication of community action Elger Marquette. In testimony whereof Chairman Corkin have hereunto set his hand and caused to be affixed the Great Seal of Marquette County on this day, 25th of April, 2023. Proclamated this 25th day of April, 2023. Jerry Corkin, Marquette County Board Chairman. Thank
I would
you.
just like to know it's the 18th today, not the 25th.
I didn't even notice.
So maybe we can make that change.
So proclaim that all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Next, approval of the agenda with the conditions. Want to approve it, Bill?
Yeah, I move to approve the agenda with the following additions: a public hearing for water improvements and wastewater improvements. Late additions: A, resolution for water improvements; B, resolution for wastewater improvements; and C, resolution adopting tentative agreement with the Nurses Association.
Support. Motion and support, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next, public comment. Who wishing to address the board? Public comment.
Good afternoon. Margaret Brum, 404 East Magnetic Street. I'm speaking on behalf of myself and not as a member of the Marquette City Board of Light and Power and not as an adjunct faculty member of Northern's community. On November 29th, 2022, I was walking my dog Shep and we were attacked by an off-leash dog in the city of Marquette, resulting in physical injury to me and trauma to my dog. And as a result of that attack, I had to have my dog euthanized. As you can imagine, I have not stopped crying since. I have since adopted another dog, but I made a promise to Shep the day I lost him that I would try to do something about off-leash dog attacks in this area. I've been to multiple meetings of multiple groups, especially I went to the NTN meetings where it was on the agenda, and multiple people spoke up that said the problem of off-leash dog attacks is not in one part of the city, not in one part of the county, not in one part of the trail system. The horror stories I heard of people and their animals being attacked, of dogs jumping, and dogs being hit by bicyclists. And the NTN, I will not speak for them, but the message that I received was they were running a trail organization. They were not going to be in the position of enforcing state of Michigan dog law, which says unless your dog is confined or is in active hunting training, it has to be on a leash. So I went away and decided that it was a question of, some of it was ignorance. People didn't honestly know that their dog had to be on a leash, and some of it was simple non-compliance. I can't do anything about non-compliance, but I can work on ignorance. And I wanted to give you a heads up that this would be coming your way. I had a friend of mine who's an artist do this poster, which simply shows dogs on leashes and mentioned that the state of Michigan requires that dogs be on a leash, and gave the citation to the state of Michigan dog law. And this is a preliminary poster. We're having it redone. And I will have multiple copies made, and I will give them to the clerk of the county board for publication where you deem fit. This is not a city law, it's not a county law, it's a state law. It goes back to the dog law of 1919, and it is a problem. When I say it's a problem, my tragedy is my tragedy. There were other tragedies I heard about that made me weep even more. And therefore, you can either say, well, there's nothing you can do about it, people are going to be the way they are, or you can raise awareness. And in addition to putting out the posters for both the county and the city, I'm also going to be gathering leashes for law enforcement personnel to carry with them, so that if they encounter a person with an off-leash dog who doesn't have a leash, they can issue one to the person, so that instead of it being a punishment, it's an educational opportunity. So thank you for listening, and thank you for understanding that even though it seems like a minor issue, it is not. And we owe it to these animals to take better care of them so that we all can enjoy being out in public. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Public comment.
Good afternoon. Thad Goodwin, 554 Little Lake Road, Marquette. I'm here representing North Country Surveying regarding action item 11B, selection of qualified survey firms. If the board has any questions for me, I'd be willing to answer any. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comment.
Hello, my name is Maddie O'Donnell. I am the new district manager of the Marquette County Conservation District. I am just here today to introduce myself to all of you. As the new district manager, it's important to me that I am up to date on going-ons with the county, so I can present my services in any ways we can help whenever it is relevant. So you can expect to see me at more meetings ongoing. Thank you.
Public comment. Public comment? Public comment, period is closed. Review of claims and accounts. Total expenditures paid via check for the period April 7th through April 12th, 2023 for $1,175,096.83. EFT transfer for the period April 7th, 2023 to April 12th, 2023, $1,175,396.83. And EFT transfer for the period April 7th through the 12th, $78,333.06. Motion would be in order to consider the bills. Moved by Commissioner Adamini. Have a support.
Support.
Mr. Allen. Questions or comments on the bill? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is the public hearing. We're considering doing some work on the wastewater plant at K.I. Sawyer and the water plant, and would accept comments, I guess, on the water plant first.
All right, well, my name is Andrew Karanen. I'm with the UP Engineers and Architects, working with the community of K.I. Sawyer. We are compiling an application to Eagle SRF program, State Revolving Fund. In this cycle, they have additional monies from the federal bipartisan infrastructure legislation as well as the American Recovery Act. So there's more funds available this year. So with that is increased funding opportunities for applicants. In this case, for overburdened applicants, up to 75% grant. For significantly overburdened applicants, up to 100% grant. In this case, on the K.I. Sawyer would be classified as overburdened, so they could qualify for up to 75% grant. On the water project, the scope of the water project includes water main replacements, water tank refurbishment. It includes well house improvements. It includes well house generators. As you know, that K.I. Sawyer system is an old system built back in the late 50s through the 60s into the 70s. A lot of the infrastructure is in very poor condition. That is supported by asset management plans that have been developed for the water system and for the sewer system. On the water system, an intent to apply has been submitted to Eagle as required under their program requirements. And an ask for $8.5 million has been arrived at. On the water side, right now their rates are kind of low, so that there will be a raise in rates up to 1% of median household income to qualify for overburden status. And to do that, we're looking at a water rate increase in the range of $10.75. And I'm going to have some communication or some conversations with Dwayne over the next month on how maybe to better address that. That is a large increase, and might be better ways to address that. But at this point, this public hearing and the resolution is a required component of the application. So that's why we're here today. So moving on to the sewer application. The sewer application, again, it's a similar, it's the same program. Currently their rates are above the 1%, so they currently qualify for overburden status. With this project, we would be asking for $20 million in grant and loan funds. We'd be asking for the 75% grant, and we'd be asking for a $5 million loan. The loans under the SRF program for overburdened community would be a 30-year term at 1.875. For the sewer project, the average residential user would be seeing a rate increase in the range of $4 a month increase to their bill to pay for the $5 million bond. So we have before you today resolutions for the water system and for the sewer system for acceptance of this plan as submitted today. So if there's any questions.
So you said $10 increase, but that's like the average. Did you look and see what the average household is? Is that what that is?
Currently, the average household user is using approximately 3,375 gallons per month. They're paying a rate of $6.71 a thousand. So that equals $22.65.
For water. That's the average user's only paying that much for water.
Let me verify that.
That sounds a little light.
That is a little light. It's more like $26.
Even that was light. So what does the average user pay for sewer?
The average user right now pays $47.42 a month for sewer.
So 47 and 26, so you're 60. So $73 for combined water and sewer, an average user is paying right now.
Sure.
And it's going to go up from 73 to 87. $14, 10 for
Sure.
water and 4 for sewer.
Yes, yep.
Oh, that's a big increase for water. That's from 26 for water to 36. It's a 50% increase.
That is a big increase. And that's a big increase for those residents of KI Sawyer who are on the lower economic scale, for sure. So, but it's a system in need of improvement, and that's, I think, undeniable. So with this increase, again, that $10.75 increase will get them up in the 1% of median household income range, which puts them into overburden status, making them eligible for grant funding. So that rate increase is really required to get into the grant range. To compare it to a rural development system, USDA rural development loan and grant, USDA requires a level of 1.5%. So this is really a good deal to get into grant range from a funding agency. So.
Well, you're talking about getting in the grant range, but I think of the users paying more money
Sure.
for water and sewer. Now, it has to pay for itself anyway, that's a requirement.
Yes.
But are these set in stone, or are these like worst case scenarios and they might be less when it actually turns up?
These are applications. This is a competitive process. This application is competitive.
For the SRF.
For the SRF funding. If October 1st, Eagle will issue their intended use plan, at which time they will identify all the applicants, their scoring, and who qualifies for funding. So October 1st, if you find out that you qualify for funding, Eagle will inform you of what they're offering you. They may not offer the 75% for sewer that we're requesting, the 45% for water that we're requesting. They may offer something different that would even entail an even larger increase in rates. And that, at that time, you'd have the option of saying, can't afford it, or we choose not to accept. So it's not set in stone, so to speak, but the 1% is a fact to get into grant range.
If I may just add just one comment, this is again, as he's stating, this is just submitting an application. By no means are we committing to anything at this stage. We don't really know what the grant awards may or may not be, and we don't even know if we would qualify at the end to get awarded. But this whole process starts with the resolution to allow us to apply. Again, like he had stated earlier, at the event of a grant being offered, we're not committed to hold to any commitment at this stage. All this process right now is opening us up to the opportunity to submit the request as we did last year, and we were unsuccessful with both our water and wastewater submittals under granting. Again, this is just the initial process to get us into the system. If we choose at the end of the awarding of the grants that they would award us and it exceeds what we feel is affordable to our residents in relation to what we would be accomplishing with the grant, we can just as easily decline.
Last year on the SRF, I didn't see any 75% funding at all. The most that I saw was 50, and mostly it was 10% for the most part, and then 50 was a couple for challenged communities, which I guess we would qualify, I hope. But I never saw any 75, that's why I was curious, but maybe it's different, maybe it's a different thing than I was looking at.
Last year and this year, they are the special funding. Yeah, the intended use plan is online, I guess. I don't have it in front of me, but,
Anybody else here from Sawyer or anywhere else in the county that wants to comment on this? Good, we will take this up, do at the end of the meeting, vote on the resolutions.
okay, thank you.
Next, more privileged comment, informational items, May 2nd, 2023, special election information. Is that something you want to comment on, Tanya?
Linda was just wanted everybody to know that there is a special election on May 2nd. There's going to be two different proposals. One is just for mixed community schools, which is a renewal. Yeah. And then Arisa is also doing a countywide proposal.
Scrap tire and collection schedule that will put up by the solid waste authority. That's something they do each year, right, Bill?
And not every year, so last year they couldn't do it, so people will get used to it because they've done it for many years prior, but last year the landfill ended up with too many tires, and Eagle got after them saying that you have too large of a volume, so they stopped, they paused it last year, and I'm glad to see it's back this year. You know, they take those tires and they have a machine that cuts them in half, and they use them for ballast as they're closing parts of the landfill. So it works out really well, you know, so it's free, people get rid of their tires for free, and the landfill gets to use them for a purpose, so, yeah, it's a good thing.
Other comments or questions? That one? Another information items from Boreal Aviation from Thomas Klein. I'll read the Dwayne Duray, County of Marquette, Boreal Aviation Incorporated Airport FBO operational lease agreement. Verbiage request 17.62. Mr. Duray, Boreal Aviation Incorporated respectfully requests the following verbiage in section 17.62. Lesser will improve hangar spaces with new wall and ceiling paneling be removed. He's asking it to be removed and replaced with revised 17.6.2. Lessee will improve the hangar spaces with wall ceiling covering improvements as needed, utilizing smart foam, industrial coating, so forth. So I guess is what they're saying is the board, when we leased it out, we had what they signed to say they would do, correct? Now they want to change it?
Yes, that's what is being addressed is the original lease stated for them to do specific improvements to hangars 423, 4, and 5, And one of those improvements was relating to installing wall and ceiling paneling. And this is one of the components of the lease agreement that have yet to be completed. Mr. Klein has declined to do that. He is saying that it's not cost effective. And what he is presenting is a request to amend the lease to take out the paneling and to install a smart foam. And I believe the whole purpose of his amendment is to correct the areas where our fire guard has delaminated, and he would apply another coat to, once again, restore that barrier. At least that's what I believe.
But I guess if you don't sign the lease that you don't want to live up to, I don't think. That's a little unusual way to operate anything. So I guess my only comment is that you sign the lease and live up to it.
I guess I have a couple different thoughts on this. I mean, one is that I feel like we've had some continuing issues with Boreal over recent years, and I feel like there's some uncertainty, so it makes us, they lost some of their goodwill, I think, with us. On the flip side of that, I'm not sure what I'm hearing, so I'm not sure what staff thinks about if they're not putting paneling and they have an alternative, rather than putting paneling to putting this foam. I'm not sure that makes a big difference. What does staff think of that? Dwayne, I mean, what do you think?
At this point, I'm unsure exactly what this smart foam is. I don't know if it's equivalent to what's currently installed. I'm really unsure. I think it would have to be evaluated to see exactly what the application would provide for the safety of the hangars, because the fire guard that has delaminated, the sole purpose is to protect the tenants from possible fire. It would expose the open cell foam that's been installed for insulation to ignite under certain conditions, so.
Anyway, I guess this is what I know. Some of the board certainly been controlling about it to the staff, about getting it, that they live up to their lease, and I guess we have companies that sign a lease, and if there's, I guess, possibly some situations you might make some changes, but this doesn't make sense to me anyway. So.
Well, this is under an informational item too, it's not under an action item. So before, we would really, I would think, want to address that. If we do want to, there should be more follow-up and discussion on it. But not at this time, I guess, it's an informational matter.
But I think I hear the chair saying that Boreal is losing their good faith with us, or goodwill with us, and I agree with that. Although they can restore that, I mean, I think we need staff to talk to them and find out what's going on. I think they have before, but we need to do some more of that, I guess.
We did have another carrier out there that has done a good job over in Dickinson County, so keep that in mind. We have somebody that will take this over and do a good job. I think we will have some further conversation then with staff and bring it back to the board at the next meeting. Okay.
I would move to accept and file the informational items.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next, action item, we've got a resolution to name the airport. I guess we haven't passed a resolution according to the FAA, that's why it's back on your plate, so I guess
I would move to adopt the resolution to rename the Sawyer International Airport Marquette Sawyer Regional Airport.
Support.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Alholm?
Yes.
Commissioner DePietro,
Yes.
Commissioner Adamini,
Yes.
Commissioner Nordine,
Yes.
Chairperson Corcoran.
Yes. Next, 11B, selection of qualified survey firms for our county representatives. This is from Neil Lynch. Is Neil here?
I am.
You want to comment on this?
Every 3 years, we go through the qualified base selection process to sign contracts with qualified survey firms to perform the remonumentation program here in Marquette County. And this is the third year, so we're just going through the process again. We had applications or submittals from 3 different firms, and our recommendation is, I believe, included in your packet. There was the one little typo in that. It's not county representative, it's the county remonumentation project. So, and if you have any questions beyond that, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Neil has done a good job in heading this up over the last couple of decades here, and the process seems to be working. They recommend awarding the 3-year contract to the 2 highest scoring respondents, Tri-Media, Environmental Engineering, and North Country Survey, and direct the Marquette County Environmental Remonumentation Representative to oversee the preparation of these contracts. So it's for 3 years, and what's the approximate cost?
Sure. It's a grant, so it's pass-through money. For the 2023 grant program, we've been awarded $149,247. That number varies depending on the number of documents that are recorded. That's where the funds come from. So the more documents that get recorded, the bigger our grant amount. That number has varied from, in the last 8-10 years, has varied from 93,000 up to this year's the high 149,000. So there's quite a bit of difference there. We kind of have to be nimble to adjust the size of our program each year, but that is just pass-through funds. So whatever we're awarded from the state for the grant is what we're able to use for the program.
Recommendation?
I'd so move, but then I have a comment too.
Motion by Commissioner Nordine, supported by Commissioner Adamini. Go.
So I'd like to point out that 10 years ago or so, before we did this, we used to had this formula where it gave weight to different criteria, and one of it was how many surveyors a company had. And we had a company here that had a big company throughout the United States, even though they all weren't here, and they ended up getting to work every time. And then we looked at that, we said, well, that's not fair. So we went back and ended up splitting this between 2 different places, and it was a test, it was a test to see if it would be okay to have 2 different surveying firms doing this work and how that would work. And I assume it's worked well.
It has. It's whenever you have more than one contractor, it's always a little bit of a juggling act.
Yeah.
Sometimes a tightrope to satisfy everybody and try to divvy that contract up as equally as possible. That never quite happens, but we try to do that as fairly as possible. There are some other administrative side things that get a little more complex when you have more than one contractor. But for the most part, it's been very good because they kind of keep each other honest too. And I think it's been good for the program.
So when you got one surveyor up to his hips in water in a swamp and he's saying, how come the other guy's up in the highland over there? Right?
That's when my phone rings.
No, I do see that. We got 2 of our well-known surveyors here, Thad and David, but I didn't see David's firm applying. So did they go together? Thad, did you guys go together, you and David?
That's correct.
Okay. I was curious.
Yep.
And then what are you guys putting in? Are they quarter corners? Is that what you're putting in the quarter corners?
Section corners, quarter corners, meander corners, and depending on the site, would depend on the type of monument that is placed there. It depends if you're in a roadway or in a forest situation or in a rock, or so different locations would merit different types of monumentation.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you for your good work.
My pleasure.
You got
a motion, we just gotta vote on it, yeah?
Next, we got,
Oh, we gotta vote on it.
We don't vote on the motion.
We're talking, so.
okay, we have a motion and support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, State of Michigan Awareness Grant.
So the airport has applied for additional funding for additional cameras at our airport terminal. They'll obviously be very beneficial in the event of a slip or fall or other incident. And we're also working with the county IT department to add in these cameras to try to do it in-house to save cost. So we applied for the annual airport awareness grants in the amount of $5,000 with a county match of 10%, which is $550. We're working on researching the camera types and installation methods to ensure the best option is purchased with this funding. And the local match necessary for the purchase of this camera equipment will be accounted in the airport security line item. And so we are looking for Marquette County Board approval to approve the MDOT grant of $5,000 and approve the resolution I actually have today with the proper MDOT agreement number.
We have to approve a resolution here.
We don't have a resolution in our package.
I didn't-
It's to pre-approve it.
Yeah, I do have it because we just got the agreement number after I sent it to Scott. So I can give it to Linda after, but it's agreement number 2023-0413.
Well, if we follow the staff recommendation, I guess I'm asking to just give roll call vote since we don't have the resolution, I'm assuming it's going to.
Do you have it written up? You don't have it written up?
I have the resolution, I
You
just
do,
didn't
okay,
get it.
that's we.
Okay.
That should have been in our packet probably, but okay.
Motion to
I would
To adopt that resolution
Yeah, I would move-
that we haven't seen?
approve the MDOT
Sorry.
grant of $5,000 and the resolution authorizing the chairperson to sign.
If we pass it around and see it real quick.
Well,
Just, because we're voting on it, we should look at it. Just quickly, right? Just saying. Over it.
Oh, yeah. Round three.
There you go. We'll share.
We have a motion and a support. Roll call.
We don't need to read it, as long as we have it.
Who was the second? I'm sorry.
I'll be.
Commissioner Alvin was first. Who was second?
Motion by me is fine. Supported by Bill.
All right, so Commissioner Alvin,
Yes.
Commissioner DePietro,
Yes.
Commissioner Adamini,
Yes.
Commissioner Norby,
Yes.
Chairperson Corrigan.
Yes. Next, U.S. Army Winter Testing Office Space Mortgage,
Yep. So after another successful winter testing season, the Army has requested to lease the storage space that they do over the summer or spring to fall time, which is 2 office spaces in Hangar 663. It's considered cold storage and has no utility cost expected, but if any is incurred, it is the responsibility of the Army. They're set to return for another season later this year. So the lease will cover the rental space of a little over 1,000 square feet. That stores office equipment and supplies. So rental rate of $3.09 per square foot or $535.10 per month. They're requesting to prepay this as they do each year with their last month's payments totaling to $3,210.06. And the agreement will not hinder the ability to lease out the remaining hangar floor space where aircraft can be parked for any short-term aircraft storage. And so staff recommends Marquette County Board of Commissioners approve the short-term lease agreement with Dynex Service Group, also known as the U.S. Army, and authorizes the chairperson to sign the agreement.
We have staff recommendation that Marquette County Board of Commissioners approve the short-term lease agreement with Dynex Service Group Incorporated, DBA U.S. Army, and authorize board chair to sign the agreement.
I'll make the motion to approve the recommendation as presented.
I'll support that, and I have a question. Are they paying for next fall, which the last payment, no?
No, no, they pay for next fall when they start in, normally it's like September, October time.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, U.S. Army winter testing office space storage. Water from concrete slab, right?
Yep, so we're looking to repair some failing concrete sections in hangar 661, which is just on from 663. The last tenant that operated in that hangar operated very heavy equipment in like the middle section and side sections. And with the concrete being over 60 years old, the floor has begun to crack and heave, causing issues for the current tenant. So the bids were received for this project and are detailed in the list below. The RFP was posted on multiple builders exchanges, the county website, and the airport website. So the project would be fully funded through the operations and maintenance reimbursement through the CARES Act. And the low bid came in for UP Concrete with Bark River, Michigan, about $41,800. So you're recommending the Marquette County Board approve this proposal from UP Concrete.
I'll make the motion to pass recommendation as presented.
Support.
Can I have a comment? So, well, first of all, Karen pointed something out that these bids are all over. So you have one at 41,000 and one at 86,000. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Although they're all local, more or less, they're all UP places anyway. Although I'll tell you, and I know a little bit about construction, but when you get heave like that, it's usually not from other equipment, it's from bad subsoils, and you're getting frost heave, so you're getting soil movement underneath your concrete. So I hope we're not putting new concrete onto bad
No, they're going to insure it.
situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I hope they take care of the subsoils when they pick this up.
Absolutely.
That's what I assume they're gonna do.
Yeah, it's fully being removed and replaced.
There's an awful variation here.
Yeah?
I have a question too, following up on what Commissioner Nordine just said. If it can't be tied into this heavy equipment, that would be indicate it was a recent problem, or?
No, it's been going on for a long time. It's just definitely, it wasn't an aircraft that was stored in there prior. And now an aircraft stored directly on where the damage is.
How long has it been going on then?
For the aircraft in there?
No, I mean the heavy equipment. For 6 years.
However long Envoy's been here.
So the motion I support is to give it to UP Concrete, Bark River.
Yeah, all the rest of them are in Marquette County, which would be nice, but that's a big spread, and UP Concrete's not a bad place.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Next, building 608 rehab construction award.
Yes, this afternoon. Commissioners, what I have is a request for the commission to consider awarding a construction agreement relating to Building 608 to Primo Construction. This project is part of our CARES Act project that encompassed several other buildings to include 608, 662, and a portion of 665. These are relating to some of the earlier agreements we've had in the recent board meetings. We put this out to bid. Again, it covered 4 specific other projects, and the bids came in. We advertised it on the state website and direct mailings to contractors and onto the county site, and we had only seen one bid come in from Primo Construction. They came in and bid for, again, this was bid into, the bid sheet indicated 4 separate bids. The base bid was Building 608 for the rehabilitation of Building 608. The second alternate 1 was Hangar 662, the overhead door. Alternate 2 was hangar 662, a fire alarm system, and alternate 3 was hangar 665, a heat trace system. Knowing that the costs of these projects were going to come in, we anticipated them come in higher than we had estimated. We wanted to segregate the bids so that we could itemize it and select which ones we wanted, depending on the funding that we had. The base bid for 608 was $2.7 million. Hangar 662 overhead door was $169,000. The fire alarm for 662 was $155,000. Heat trace for hangar 665 was $99,000. Total bid amount came in at $3,185,241. Now, when we originally proposed this project, we estimated the cost to be at about 1.7 to cover all of the projects. Again, we've watched construction costs come in 30 to 60 to 70% higher than they originally estimated. So then when we anticipated, we sat back and took a closer look at it, and we estimated that potentially we were going to end up segregating these out and potentially just bidding on 1 or 2 or 3, depending on the prices came in. We had estimated 608 total cost would be about 1.5 million. As you can see, that completely overshot our cost. Granted, 608 was the base bid. That is the building that we are really pushing to get completed. The actual base bid for that construction came in at 2.161 or 2.2 million. We had added an additional $600,000 as a contingency, which was to encompass all 4 projects for unforeseen circumstances, winter conditions, maybe supply chain issues. Knowing that the staff is recommending that we eliminate the 3 alternates and stick with the base bid of 608, we had conversations with the consultants, and we feel that a contingency of $300,000 would be more than adequate to cover the costs for 608. But being that Primo Construction still bidded at $2.7 million, our recommendations at this time would be to award the project at $2.761 thousand for Primo, and then we still remain with 2 options. This will be funded through our CARES Act dollars. As we are winding down with the CARES Act project, we will have to request the funding for the whole project from the FAA or what portion we deem is necessary. If we propose it for the full 2.7 million, and the project comes less than 2.7 million at the end of the grant, we won't have a chance to amend it. Whatever dollars we don't spend in that will ultimately go back to the FAA, and it'll be lost money. Our suggestion would be to request $2,461,275. That is eliminating 3 of the $600,000 contingency and pushing forward with the project with the intentions of completing it with that value, and then change order out the remaining 300,000. Now, in the event that the project exceeds that option price, the airport would have to fund the additional overages through airport reserves, which we have accumulated a fair amount of reserves as we've gone through the CARES Act reimbursement under O&M. Again, the suggestion or the options lie in 2 steps. Is either we bid it at full price, and if we don't spend the money, whatever we don't spend goes back to the FAA. If we bid it at the reduced, or we opt to apply for a grant at the reduced rate, our intentions would be to get it under the 2.7 and then just change order the excess back out, and then we would not lose the money.
So, Mr. Chairman, so I have a lot of heartburn with this one, because, we have a project that we estimated at 1.7 million, and now it's coming in at almost 2.8 million. I mean, that's hard to believe. So that's a red flag whenever you get something that comes in way above what we estimated. Did we have an engineer estimate, or was this Mead and Hunt? Mead and Hunt originally estimated it at, no, actually,
For 661, they estimated at 1.1, and they based their estimate off of the previous estimate that they had or the previous bid that we had when we put it out back in early 2000s, where it came in at 600,000. So they added a percentage of cost increases, and it still came in less, significantly less than, or their estimate was significantly less than the
So
actual
here's the
bid.
problem I have, is that we talk about this all the time, and I wish Joe DeRosa was here to chime in too, that we spent a lot of money on engineering with Mead and Hunt and everybody else. And you know why we do that? So that we find out what's a legitimate, reasonable price for something. That's why we do that. And we spent a lot of money. I mean, 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, I think we spent like 500,000 on Mead and Hunt for a project. So Mead and Hunt comes back and says this thing's worth like $1 million to $1.5 million, and it's coming in at almost $3 million. So that's a bad red flag. And then the second red flag is that we only get one bidder. And whenever we get one bidder, it doesn't give you the chance to compare and say, well, you know, like the other one, when we had all those bidders, we were looking around anyway, okay, that looks reasonable. So now we have that. So I don't think we should do this at all. I mean, is this something that happened because of COVID and we're still reeling from that? We don't have enough companies bidding these jobs, maybe. But to go from 1.1 million or 1.5 million to 2.8 million is crazy. Now, do we have a problem with our CARES money that we have to spend it?
That's one of the challenges that we face right now is CARES Act grant will expire in May of 2024. Whatever we do not expel in this grant, we lose. This is one of the projects that we had tied to the CARES Act grant. We have this project, the building demo project, a few other points of equipment that we're going to eventually get delivered and pay for, and then O&M, hoping to draw down the dollars right down to zero or as close to zero as we possibly can. I completely understand the frustration and the concern with this project. Over the course of the last year and a half, I've seen 3 projects, all in our cluster, was a 664, Hangar 664 fire suppression. We had one bid. The building project at the wastewater treatment plant, one bid.
Yeah, but were they close to what the engineers said they should?
The hangar fire suppression, that was relatively close. The wastewater treatment plant, we originally bid it or engineered it at 1.1, it came in at 1.7.
Okay.
And now this one was bid at 1 point, or originally estimated. Granted, we got to take into consideration, we also had to accompany this with some additional engineering, which related to SHPO with a Section 106 study and the CADX and associated costs that related to SHPO. It definitely isn't the overbearing on the estimate, but it is a portion of the project.
Does this need to be done today, this year?
If we don't do it this year, we most likely will never do it.
Does it matter?
Envoy, this is a building that Envoy Air utilizes for their operation. They have their ground support and their component maintenance done in this particular structure. This improvement, even though it will benefit Envoy, ultimately it benefits Marquette County because it is our building. Whether Envoy leases it or not, the building has reached its age, or a lot of the components in this project have reached their life cycle. The roof needs to be repaired. The windows are very much outdated. The doors are very outdated. And what we would be doing is encompassing a whole new envelope over this entire building, giving it at least a 20-plus year life to it. It would be a challenge for us at this stage if we chose not to do this, to spend down this additional money.
Can you go rebid it? We have everything ready. See, the problem I have with it is I feel like we got this money from the government and we're just spending like drunken sailors sometimes, and it's not what we're supposed to be doing. You know, we have fiduciary obligations and we're supposed to do for the people's money. And it looks to me like if Mead and Hunt looked at this, which we paid them a lot of money to look at, and they think it's worth 1.1 or 1.5 or whatever, then it looks to me like the contractor threw an extra $1 million on her to say, well, what the heck, we'll see how it goes. And they're gonna walk away with an extra $1 million in a project. I'm sure they're not gonna pay their employees more. So I can't see it. It's too much. It's just too much.
Chairperson? I'd like to know that this is CARES money, and we can't just spend it like a drunken
Sailor.
sailor, because we have to do it for certain items. There's rules on how you can spend it. The other thing, I noted that you actually extended the bid date a week. Is that because nobody bid at all? Or because Primo was the only one?
Primo, at that time, Primo remained the only bidder, and he had additional questions. I will have to say, Primo Construction, they have asked a lot of good pertinent questions, and the reason we extended the bid time was to address his concerns with the insulated wall panels, because that's one of the components of this, is to install a complete new envelope around the building with insulated wall panels, and he needed additional timing or additional time to get all of his subs and those prices locked in.
And did anybody else inquire about it?
The engineers had reached out to other contractors, and their response was they're too busy at this stage. They're under construction, building construction. We've seen huge challenges with getting enough bidders because there's so much work out there.
What economy is booming, I guess.
Mr. Chairman,
Expensive now because of COVID.
question for Dwayne.
Yes, sir.
Just a little bit ago, you talked about SHPO. Are they causing the increase in project?
Well, this project, a direct relation to the SHPO is nearly $50,000 just for a Section 106 where they had to evaluate was the work that we are proposing, would that impact the historic preservation of the or the image of the base? And that was one component that added to it. Granted, we've seen in other projects, namely the demolition, we've seen a $500,000 increase just associated with the SHPO expenses, but that $500,000 is not related to this.
And one other thing, I agree with Commissioner Elholm, because I know CARES Act money is dictated to where you can spend it. You know, it's not like you're gonna hand a lot of money to a drunken sailor and tell them go and have a good time.
I like my term, eh?
I've been there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have the floor.
I'll move to accept the staff recommendation as to option 1 presented.
Support.
Need support.
Further conversation? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
We're down to the resolution for wastewater projects. Sorry, we want to review those. Dwayne, what you said as far as the questions about costs. So I guess if we approve this, we're not saying that we're going to absolutely do it, but we'll consider it, right?
Yeah, that is absolutely correct, Commissioner, Chairperson Corkin. That at this stage, this resolution is just authorizing staff to submit the request for or submit our application to apply for these funds. Again, in the event that if we get an offer back, if it does not meet the criteria that we feel is necessary for or amendable to our tenant base at Sawyer, we can decline. It is In my opinion, at this stage right now, as Andrew from UPEA had commented, the infrastructure at Sawyer is dated. It's late 50s, early 60s. There is a lot of aging components to both the water and the wastewater system that we are seeing is going to turn around and bite us in the near future unless we address it, at least in a fashion that we can take it piece by piece. We feel that this opportunity with the state's offers and the bill funding may be a good method, but again, this is at this stage, all we are doing is requesting permission to.
Well, I guess I would recommend that we support both of these to go forward, and we'll see where people end up with it. And one is for the wastewater system, the other for the water system, so I guess.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the water system improvements resolution as written.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Nordy?
We had it earlier.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry.
Commissioner Alholm?
Yes.
Commissioner DePietro?
Yes.
Commissioner Adamini?
Yes.
Chairperson Corcoran?
Yes. Second one is the wastewater system.
I would move to adopt a resolution on the wastewater system improvements project.
Support.
Roll call vote.
Commissioner Alholm?
Yes.
Commissioner DePietro?
Yes.
Commissioner Adamini?
Yes.
Commissioner Nordy?
Yes.
Chairperson Corcoran?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
One related issue?
I would move that we adopt the resolution between the what's that?
For the nurses.
For Nurse Association, I was reading what it was. Yeah, resolution adopting collective bargaining agreement between the County of Marquette and the Michigan Nurses Association and its affiliate, Marquette County Health Department staff registered nurses. And I would move that we adopt the tentative agreement as provided by staff.
No support.
Support.
Commissioner Nordy?
Yes.
Commissioner Alholm?
Yes.
Commissioner DePietro?
Yes.
Commissioner Adamini?
Yes.
Chairperson Corcoran?
Yes. Public comment? Public comment? Commissioner comments? Staff comments?
Well, this is our last meeting at 3 o'clock. Okay, we go to 6 o'clock next month now.
I think so. Let me look at my hand.
In May, yeah, for sure. What do you have in your calendar?
My calendar.
Anyway,
Six.
meeting's adjourned.
6 o'clock next month.
City Marquette plant, spent $12 million upgrading that wastewater.